I am very, very pleased to be interviewing Burke Franklin. Known him a long time. Great guy, extremely knowledge based, especially when he tells you what he does. So, Burke, why don't we start with your credentials? Tell us who you are, what you do.
We've talked before. I know you know about Business Power Tools. You've been promoting it. Anyway, Business Power Tools, it's an online platform loaded with business development templates. My main product is called Biz Plan Builder, which I created like way back in the 80s for a client of mine who had a deal going with Apple. Apple wanted to see his business plan because at the time the SBA did some survey or study of 26,000 businesses that failed, and they found that 65% of them had no business plan. So they wanted to be sure he had a plan because they were betting the farm on his engineering software, and they wanted to be sure that he would stay in business to develop it and support it and continue. So that was a crucial thing. It was a big deal, and he couldn't afford to lose it. And so using my experience from engineering school, business school, and working for Texas Instruments, so I understood the technology. I worked for the Sharper Image Catalog as the electronics buyer and later a catalog copywriter. So I understood direct response marketing and catalogs. And then from there, I discovered a word processor in Silicon Valley. I sold to enterprises. So I kind of knew, though, I had the three main ingredients there that would enable me to understand what Apple was looking for. And I put together the business plan for them and it got them the deal. And over the next year, I helped a dozen people or so raise capital, help them fix their business plans, their financial models, pitch decks, coach them personally on how to explain this to the investors, tell them things like the investors don't want to buy your product, they want to invest in your company. It's a whole different perspective on pitching investors for money if you are. Anyway, a year into this thing, I'm thinking, I could help a lot more people if I took all the content I developed over that year and turned it into a template, and that became our Biz Plan Builder, and put it in a box and sold it in all the stores. And altogether, we had 10 products. We had a marketing product, an employee handbook full of policies and procedures, a safety plan with safe work practices, sample contracts, a whole bunch of stuff. And now it's all blended together into a online dashboard called businesspowertools.com where everything works alike, works together. It's easier to use than Office. And a lot of people use it. So I've sold over 2 million copies in the last 35 years. So it's been a big success, and just need more people to know about it and, of course, use it.
Well, that's the key, isn't it?
Yeah.
So give us a little deeper plunge into how the tool works.
Well, I certainly invite you to come on for a demo. We're not doing a demo right now, but I'm happy to give you a demo. It's at businesspowertools.com, and I'm happy to walk you through it because there's a lot to it. And it's the business plan itself. It's each section, and it's got content in it. The real difference between our products and really everybody competitors is they mostly have empty buckets. It's easy to say, hey, we've got a business plan template like you get from the SBA, but it really doesn't have the content in it to give you any idea of what you should say, what to say, and how to say it. Because people look at this and you have a blank page and you think, well, okay, describe your management team here. What exactly are investors looking for? We give you the outline and an example of what to do. So basically, I took the content that I'd worked on for clients and then took out their name and put in company. So your company would fill in where their company name was. And so it's just this refined, revised, edited content. And it just gives you really the kind of multiple choice answers that you can edit in using your own words. So I'm not even asking you questions because people don't know really how to answer the questions. We're giving you sample answers that you get the idea and you'll be inspired to edit and modify it your own way. And then you'll have the information because the investors, they're betting on the jockey, not the horse. That means you. And they want to be sure with details. They also want to know, like, what's a nice person like you doing in a business like this? Like, what inspires you to keep this business going? Because, well, as you know, horse races are often won by a nose. And so they want details are important. And they also want to know that you're going to get back on the horse after you get thrown off a million times. And so all of those key ingredients are key. And investors are looking at, if you are looking for money, often people aren't, but most people seem to be motivated to write a business plan because they're looking for capital. And the investors they want detail. They could be looking at a handful to 100 other deals, and you need yours to stand out, and you need to answer all their questions. It's like a catalog of answers to the inevitable questions investors are just going to ask. And that's where it really gives it its head start and gives you the head start and the advantage with investors. So that's the main thing. And of course, policies and procedures. It's all that stuff that most business owners just don't have time for, don't do, don't think about, don't want to pay somebody else to do.
And they
But
don't know. They
they don't
don't
know.
know.
Yeah, and you don't know until you fire an employee because they're not working. All of a sudden, that guy sues you. And you go, wait, what? What? You know. Anyway, so that's a whole other rabbit hole to go down. But that's what we address. It's about eliminating BS in business, preventing it, and putting out, not just so you can put fires out, is so you don't have fires in the first place. That's really, I think, the key ingredient to it. And it's economical and easy to do.
So if there's a single one most important thing that people should grab from this interview, what do you think is the hottest issue that when you bring on a new client, what's their biggest issue?
Well, there's a whole bunch, but I would say the main thing, and it's hard to argue, is the financial model. We've got a financial model that's evolved over 35 years, where you don't have to be a CPA or a CFO, you don't have to be a financial genius or even a financial person at all. You fill in the numbers, and it does all the math for you, all the way from your revenue calculations or projections. And investors, if you're looking for investors, even lenders, do they believe your numbers? Well, they know you're estimating. We really help you granulate the estimate, but they want to see how you thought it through. And so, all the way from the revenue model shows, how does this business make money? Where does the money come from? Who are the customers? Where are they? How many of them are there? And all the way to, your balance sheet, your income statement, your cash flow projection. There's a best worst case analysis. We've got competitors out there, so we give you 3 sets of financials, and you figure out which one's the best worst case, and all that. And we make that very simple. And even you can be online with an investor on the screen, and they can change the numbers to give them, because you want to show them something that they're going to believe. And if they think your sales are going to be 150% of what you say, or a half of what you say, punch in those numbers, and that it'll recalculate. It'll give you a valuation. You need to know what this business is worth. And that's a critical thing. We give you 4 different valuation methods, and of course, average them all together to give you an idea. Here's the thing. Let's say you are looking for money, and for simple math, if you can convince your business is worth, say, $900,000 as it is, that's called pre-money valuation, meaning before an investor puts in any capital, and they put in $100,000. So your 900 plus their 100 equals $1 million. They get 10% of your company. My argument, if you call it that, would be that, hey, what if you could do a better job on your plan, more detail, more information, answer all their questions, a believable financial model, and you could convince them that your business is worth $1.9 million. That means your business is worth $1 million more. And when they put in the $100,000, its business is worth $2 million or $20 million, and no, sorry, $2 million, and they only get 5% of your company. So you're not giving up as much of your company. That's the main thing you want to do. And so the financial model really helps you understand how this business works financially. And that's what most investors and lenders and most people at the end of the day buy. And at the end of the day, when you sell your company, that's what validates the valuation that you want. So you get what it's worth, and you can sell your business faster for more money.
That's the biggest problem that most business owners have, is how to get the message out there. Isn't that right?
Well, yeah, marketing is certainly a big deal, but what happens when you get a live buyer or a live investor in front of you, and this person's interested and motivated and thinks you got a good deal? You've got you've got the right heart, mind, body, and spirit in it. You've got the team. There's a market. There's a problem you're solving. I think that's probably the single biggest thing that investors, or you really, before you even start your business or rethink it, or when you're doing your strategic planning, whether you do it every year or every month or however you do it, you want to start with, what problem are we solving? Who's got it? How many people are there? And there's these different segments you can say. Like I use an example of like boat anchors. So how many sailboats are there? How many power boats are there? How many fishing boats are there? So it's not like, hey, here's a big mistake people make. It's a $10 billion market. If we got 1% of it, we'd be a $100 million company. And that one statement is enough to kill your deal with almost any investor out there. I would say but just say 99% of them. The next dumb thing people say, I'll just give you the dumb things people say and do so you don't do them. These are
That makes sense.
three deal killers. That was the first one. Second one is kind of the flip side of that coin is we're going to do $1 million in our first year. Now, I was at a I was on a panel of judges for a business plan competition at the University of Texas. It was me and three venture capitalists. Every single team came out and said, "We're going to do $1 million in our first year." And we're super excited. And I looked at the investors on the break and I said, "Is it just me or does everybody do $1 million in their first year?" And they just all started laughing. They said, wouldn't believe how many people say that." So, deal killer number two. And just add insult to injury, the last thing people say, "Oh, and our numbers are conservative." Bozo no on that one. So, but that's where my model fixes that. You segment it. This is how many people there are who have sailboats, whatever. And I say it's like 350,000. And in that little box I put behind it, from Sailing Magazine, there's 350,000 paying subscribers. Now that's maybe a bad example, but the idea is you show a source of where did you get this number of how many customers there are in that segment. And then there's other segments, you have different segments. And that's an empirical fact, is you've got a solid foundation to base the rest of your numbers on. How many people are there who could use your product, who would be interested? Anyway, and then you go from there and you figure, well, what percentage of that market can I reach? How fast does that grow? And then there's the math on, okay, what's the price? So you get the number of people, percentage. That's the arguable part. That's the negotiable part of the investors to say, you're not going to get 50% of those guys. You're going to get 5% of them, something. But you can change those numbers. And it'll calculate all the way down to the price of the product, all the way down to the revenue for each product, and total up, and you'll get and the investors will you walk right down the spreadsheet, and you can see the math, and the investors go, "Yep, okay, I believe you." That's the ultimate starting point right there, and then the rest
Well, you
is
know what?
expenses and stuff, and then it works out.
Not to interrupt you, but the takeaway is that you know what you're doing. That's the most valid aspect of what you do. You've been doing it. What did you say, 20 years?
35.
Oh, 30. Oh, I'm sorry.
I know what I'm doing. I make it so you know what you're doing. That's the whole point. Because people have some great ideas. There's things, that solving big problems in the world. And what makes me crazy is these people who, they've got the great idea, which is that's what happened that first year I was helping people with plans. They had some great ideas. But they just weren't getting funded because they just weren't speaking it right. They weren't pitching it right. They had to get the gravitas even themselves to be the person for the investor to want to invest in. And that's a challenge. So there's a lot of moving parts in there.
You also gave me some other ideas to these interviews of what we should do, but I'll discuss that with you later. The bottom line is, don't get stuck in the mud. If you want to propel your business, talk to somebody that has the expertise that can show you the way, right? And that's what Business Power Tools is all about. It helps people see the way.
In every section of the plan, whether it's the market segmentation or the management team or the technological part or the risks, there's a video where it's, me telling you, hey, and giving you ideas of in this section, this is what an investor, a lender, a team member, a business owner, someone's going to look for. This is where you understand, like, what are we talking about in this particular section? Risk, for example, is one of those things. I think about what are the top three things? You've got to build trust and believability. That is critical. And one of the things is you need to understand the risks. Every business has risks. The investors know this, the lenders know this, buyers know this. Everybody really knows this. And most of us don't want to, I don't want to tell about the risks. There's no risk. No, there's risks. The important part is that not only do you reveal the risks, but you demonstrate the fact that you understand the risks and what are you doing about it. And some of those risks, can be mitigated with, I need the investment, and I'll make these three risks go away. There's a few others over here, and there's one of them here. I don't know what to do about that, but maybe you've got some ideas, and I'm working on that. But the main thing is to not be caught flat-footed in a presentation going, oh, I never thought about that. Because That's death. And the fact, and you want to be upfront with it. Say, look, these are the five risks in this business. Bam, 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 bam. And the investor's like, oh, okay, you're being forthright, you're being forthcoming with it, because you don't want to have the investor, someone say, well, what about this, that, and the other thing? And you're like, oh, never thought about that. And so, or I have thought about that, but I didn't want to say anything. Both of those are really bad. So you want to be upfront about the risks. I wouldn't say lead with the risks, but I'm saying during the presentation or somewhere in the conversation, you say, I got to tell you, there's several risks involved here, and here's what we're doing about it.
You
So
know,
it just does wonders for your credibility.
Burke, I think what the beauty of this interview is that um, you're telling people what you know, and you know it. You've been doing it so many years. You've also modified. Didn't you tell me recently that you were doing some new modifications to your power tools?
Well, that's an ongoing thing. It's the cool thing is it's like the same product that just evolves. So it just gets
Oh,
better and
yeah.
better and better.
Yes.
And so when
Yes.
people subscribe to it, they get those changes and improvements all the way along. So
I
that's the
get it.
nice thing
I
about
get
it.
it.
It's like that. So um,
I get it. All right, so let's do this. Let's give people your credentials, including a phone number to reach you by.
sure.
Let's
Well,
start with
first
that.
of all, come to businesspowertools.com. It's right there. Businesspowertools.com. You can reach me at burke@businesspowertools.com. And the number is 800-346-5426 if you want to call. But most people come to the website, send me an email, go in there, click for a demo, and happy to walk you through it and show you how it works. Once you see it, I mean, it's really one of those visual things where you see how it works and you realize, oh, this isn't as daunting as I thought. Writing a business plan isn't that daunting. But again, back to my example of if you do a better job on a business plan, well, the more of your business you'll keep and the better deals you'll make. The amount of effort putting into your business plan and the financial model and the pitch deck are well worth it because you're trying to talk somebody into giving you, $50,000, $500,000, million, 10 million, whatever the number is. The amount of work it takes to make that kind of money, the old-fashioned way, like work and do it, versus actually to invest in your business, it's worth it. They deserve a good plan, and they want details.
Bingo, bingo. All right, so you've given your credentials, and let me tell people who I am so you know what I'm doing. My name is Bob Friedenthal. Under LinkedIn, I'm under Karen, Caryn, and Bob Friedenthal, Friedenthal. I call myself a LinkedIn junkie. I've been doing it for umpteen thousand years, but 25 years probably been doing it. Um, and look at the valuations of LinkedIn. LinkedIn was purchased for $26 billion from a guy named Reid Hoffman.
Could live on that.
Yeah, barely, but and so you can reach me at area code 310-736-5787. And you can also reach me at mycityalerts@gmail.com. Another way to reach me. But I'd love to get some feedback of what you're thinking of once you watch this interview. And if you're interested in an interview, contact me. So in the meantime, I'll be signing us off, and I thank you so much for your time, Bert. You're definitely, if nothing else, you exuded the fact that you know what you're doing. That's what I got out of this meeting. So
Well, I've read, I don't know how many business books I've read, but one thing I'll leave you with, in real estate, it's location, location, location. When investors bet on businesses, it's management, management, management. But I tell you what, in every business success book, the one thing that's consistent throughout is persistence, persistence, persistence.
there
And
you
you got to
go.
stay with it.
There you
Keep
go.
going.
All right, my friend. So thank you so much. I thoroughly enjoyed this interview, and I'll be signing us off right now.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks again. Great, great interview.